The Essene Path to Ageless Beauty, Ancient Wisdom for Everlasting Youth and Divine Radiance by Jamie Love. Copyright 2025 by Jamie Love. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the author, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. This book is a work of spiritual interpretation and inspiration based on the teachings traditionally attributed to the Essenes, particularly those found in the Essene Gospel of Peace and related texts. While great care has been taken to honour the essence of these teachings, this book does not claim to be an academic or historical representation of Essene doctrine. Rather, it is a reflection of the author's understanding, insight, and personal connection to these ancient principles in the context of ageless beauty, vitality, and spiritual radiance. The teachings presented here are intended for informational and inspirational purposes only. They are not a substitute for medical, psychological, or professional advice. Readers are encouraged to explore these concepts with an open heart and mind, and to apply them in ways that resonate with their own journey. The author makes no guarantees regarding any specific outcomes resulting from the practices described in this book. Each individual's path to health, longevity, and spiritual well-being is unique, and it is up to the reader to discern what aligns with their personal beliefs and experiences. Table of Contents. Introduction. The Essene Path to Ageless Beauty. Part 1. The Foundation of Essene Purity and Vitality, exploring the spiritual and physical purification practices of the Essenes that align with beauty and longevity. Chapter 1. The Essene Path to Ageless Beauty. Chapter 2. The Sacred Art of Purification. Chapter 3, The Ageless Diet of the Essenes. Chapter 4, Light, Air and Water, the Holy Trinity of Beauty. Part 2, The Spiritual Keys to Eternal Youth, exploring the inner state of peace, wisdom and divine connection that leads to lasting beauty, longevity and radiance. Chapter 5, The Sevenfold Peace and the True Fountain of Youth. Chapter 6, The Tree of Life and Divine Regeneration. Chapter 7, The Holy Streams of Life, Sound and Light. Part 3, The Divine Body, Beauty as a Reflection of Spiritual Purity, delving into how consciousness, purity, and devotion shape physical beauty. Chapter 8, The Essene Concept of Purity and How It Transforms Beauty. Chapter 9, The Spiritual Laws of Radiance and Longevity. Chapter 10, The Lost Art of Living in Harmony with Cosmic Order. Conclusion, The Path to Timeless Beauty. Bonus section, The Historical Essenes, Fact, Legend, and Mystical Wisdom. Introduction. Prophecies of a fallen world, the consequences of straying from divine law. The Essenes foresaw a time when humanity would stray far from the natural order, forsaking the wisdom of the earthly mother and the heavenly father. They warned that as people turned away from divine law, they would bring sickness, suffering, and premature aging upon themselves. The world would become polluted, both physically and spiritually, as unnatural ways of living replaced the simplicity, purity, and balance that once sustained life in its radiant form. They spoke of a time when food would no longer be life-giving, but would instead be stripped of its vital essence, processed, denatured, and filled with toxins. They foresaw that the waters would become tainted, the air heavy with poison, and the very rhythm of life disrupted by greed, excess, and disconnection from the sacred cycles of nature. This prophecy mirrors the world we live in today. The foods of the modern world, filled with chemicals and devoid of life force, have led to widespread disease, premature aging, and chronic illness. The depletion of the soil has mirrored the depletion of vitality in the human body. Stress, overstimulation, and artificial living have distanced people from the peace and purity that once sustained beauty and longevity. But just as the prophecy spoke of a great decline, it also spoke of a great restoration. The Essenes knew that those who returned to the sacred ways, who purified their bodies, nourished themselves with living foods, aligned with the rhythms of nature, and sought communion with the divine, would be renewed. They would reclaim the ageless vitality that is the birthright of all who walk in harmony with divine law. The path back is simple, yet profound. Return to nature, cleanse the temple of the body, seek peace, and live in accordance with the wisdom of the ancients. In doing so, we reverse the effects of disharmony, restoring not only our health, but also our radiance, our youthfulness, and our connection to the eternal stream of life. The restoration of the garden. Though the world has wandered far from the divine order, the path home has never been lost. It has only been waiting, like an ancient garden overgrown with the brambles of time, for those with the vision to restore it. The Essenes taught that humanity was never meant to toil in disease, suffering, and premature decay. The original design, the divine blueprint, was one of harmony, vitality, and eternal connection to the source of life. Like the fabled Garden of Eden, where all was pure and untouched by corruption, the secret to ageless beauty and boundless energy has always been a return to what is natural, simple, and true. The modern world may have strayed, but the path of light remains open. It is found not in artificial solutions or fleeting distractions, but in the wisdom of the earthly mother and the heavenly father. It is found in the living waters that cleanse, in the sunlight that nourishes, in the food that grows untainted from the soil, and in the love that flows unconditionally through all creation. To restore the garden is not merely to return to ancient ways, it is to awaken from the illusion that we were ever separate from the divine order to begin with. It is to strip away the excess, to cleanse what has been polluted, and to step once more into the eternal stream of life. The restoration is both personal and collective. As each of us chooses to align with nature, to nourish ourselves with purity, to walk gently upon the earth, we become living embodiments of the garden reborn. Our vitality becomes a testament to divine law. Our radiance becomes a beacon for others to remember their way back. The prophecy of a fallen world is not a warning of doom. It is a call to restoration, to renewal, to the great return. The garden still exists. It has always existed, and those who seek it with pure hearts and open hands will find that the gates were never truly closed. Chapter 1. The Essene Path to Ageless Beauty. There exists a wisdom so ancient, so sacred, that it has been whispered through the ages like a divine breath moving through time, a wisdom that speaks not only to the body but to the spirit, illuminating the path to vitality, purity, and eternal radiance. It is the wisdom of those who lived in harmony with the great cosmic order, who understood that true beauty is not something to be acquired, but something to be revealed, a reflection of the divine light within. This is the path of the Essenes. For centuries, their teachings remained hidden, known only to the few who sought the deepest truths of life. But what if their wisdom was never meant to be lost? What if it was always waiting for those with eyes to see? And what if within their sacred knowledge lies the key to ageless beauty, not as the world defines it, but as the embodiment of purity, vitality, and spiritual radiance? To understand the Essene path to ageless beauty, we must first unravel the essence of what true beauty is. What is ageless beauty? Beauty, in its highest form, is the outward expression of inner harmony. It is not bound by age, nor diminished by time. It is a light that shines through the eyes, a glow that emanates from a soul at peace. Ageless beauty is not merely about preserving youth, it is about embodying eternal vitality, a state of being where the spirit, mind, and body exist in perfect resonance. Ageless beauty is the radiance of one who walks in alignment with the higher laws of nature and divinity. It is the result of a pure life, where the body is a temple, the mind is clear, and the heart beats in rhythm with the celestial order. It is the wisdom of knowing that beauty is not something we chase. It is something we become when we attune ourselves to the divine currents of life. And who understood this better than the Essenes? Who were the Essenes? The Essenes were keepers of sacred knowledge, an ancient brotherhood who walked the earth in quiet devotion, living as guardians of divine wisdom. They were mystics, healers, and seekers of truth, dwelling in the deserts and near the waters, where the veil between the seen and unseen was thin. While much of the world was entangled in the material, the Essenes devoted themselves to the eternal, to purity, to enlightenment, to the perfecting of the soul. They lived in communion with the natural world, understanding that the body was not separate from the spirit, but an instrument of divine expression. They practiced sacred fasting, ritual cleansing, and plant-based nourishment, knowing that what entered the body shaped not only the flesh, but also the energy and light of the soul. They revered silence and meditation, recognizing that stillness was the doorway to divine knowledge. But their teachings were not only for personal ascension, they held the blueprint for a higher way of being, a way of life that could restore harmony between humanity and the cosmos. Their practices were designed to awaken the body's innate ability to heal, regenerate, and remain youthful. And they understood that purity was not just a moral principle, it was the foundation of vitality and longevity. Why does their wisdom align with the ageless beauty philosophy? The Essenes believed in the sacred balance of life, and in doing so they cultivated the very essence of ageless vitality. Their teachings align perfectly with the path to divine radiance, for they understood that true youth is not simply the absence of wrinkles. It is the presence of life force flowing freely through the body. Their way of life was a living testament to the art of longevity. They followed the rhythms of nature, bathed in the healing light of the sun, drank from pure living waters, and ate foods that were alive with the breath of the earthly mother. They purified their minds of dark thoughts and emotions, understanding that energy, whether physical, mental, or spiritual, shapes the vessel through which we experience life. And most importantly, they saw beauty as a spiritual quality, something that radiates from within when one is aligned with truth. To them, beauty was the natural result of purity in body, clarity in mind, and peace in spirit. It was not something to be sought after, but something that unfolded effortlessly when one lived in harmony with divine law, the interconnection of purity, longevity, and spiritual radiance. To the Essenes, purity was the cornerstone of all things, purity of body, purity of thought, purity of heart. They understood that purity was not about rigid dogma, but about creating a vessel fit to contain the sacred essence of life. When the body is pure, energy flows freely. When the mind is unburdened, the spirit can ascend. When the heart is clear, light can shine through. This is why longevity was not seen as a mystery, but as a natural result of living in accordance with divine principles. The Essenes knew that disease was not an accident, but the result of imbalance. They saw aging as something not to be feared, but to be transcended, for the soul itself was eternal. And those who walked the Essene Path often lived long, vibrant lives, some say beyond 100 years, not because they chased longevity, but because they honored the sacred temple of the body. This concept is the very heart of the ageless beauty philosophy. We do not chase youth, we cultivate life, we do not resist time, we align ourselves with eternity. We do not seek beauty externally, we become beauty by embodying the divine. The Essenes as guardians of divine wisdom and cosmic order. The teachings of the Essenes were more than just principles for personal well-being. They were guardians of the cosmic order, protectors of the sacred harmony that governs all of creation. They lived not just for themselves, but as pillars of light in a world of darkness, ensuring that the knowledge of the divine was never lost. In their understanding, the human body was a microcosm of the universe, a temple through which the celestial and the earthly could merge. They saw existence as a bridge between realms, and they believed that those who walked in purity could attain not only physical health and longevity, but also the illumination of the soul. Their path was one of transcendence, not through escape, but through the mastery of life itself. They sought to harmonize with the sacred forces of existence, to become vessels of divine radiance, and in doing so, they unlocked the secrets of timeless vitality. The sevenfold peace, nourishing body and spirit through food. The Essenes understood that peace was not just an abstract spiritual ideal, but something to be cultivated in every aspect of life, including the foods they ate. In their sacred teachings, they spoke of the sevenfold peace, a path to wholeness that encompassed peace with oneself, nature, and the divine. At the heart of this peace was harmony with the earthly mother, who provided all nourishment needed for life and vitality. To be at peace with the body, one must feed it foods that promote life. The Essenes believed that the body was a temple, and consuming unnatural, processed, or dead foods was an act of desecration. They lived in alignment with nature's cycles, honoring the changing seasons by eating what was available in its most natural state. Fruits, nuts, seeds, and grains were not just sustenance but sacred gifts, imbued with the divine intelligence of the earthly mother, designed to cleanse, rejuvenate, and elevate. The Essenes also knew that peace with the mind and emotions was deeply tied to food. When one ate in a hurried, disconnected state or consumed foods laden with suffering, such as animal flesh, that disharmony was absorbed into the body. But when one ate in gratitude, in communion with the earth, and with reverence for the energy of living foods, nourishment became an act of worship. By following their simple, plant-based, life-giving diet, the Essenes ensured that they remained in harmony, not just physically but spiritually. Their way of eating was not merely about health, it was about maintaining the inner and outer radiance that comes from living in accordance with divine law. Walking the path of ageless beauty. To walk the Essene path to ageless beauty is to embrace a way of life that nourishes not only the body but also the soul. It is to live in reverence for the earth, for the heavens, for the miracle of existence itself. It is to cultivate a heart unburdened by resentment, a mind clear of distortion, and a body that breathes with the rhythm of creation. It is to understand that beauty is not fleeting but eternal, and those who align themselves with the higher laws of life will find themselves untouched by time, for they are bathed in the radiance of the divine. This book is not a step-by-step guide. It is an unveiling, a remembering, a return. The Essenes walked this path before us, leaving behind luminous footprints in the sands of time. Now we follow, not merely to preserve youth, but to awaken to the truth that we were never meant to fade. For within us dwells the same light that illuminated the ancients, and light is eternal. Chapter 2. The Sacred Art of Purification. There is a river that flows through all of existence, an unceasing eternal stream that carries the essence of life itself. It moves through the heavens and the earth, through the body and the spirit, through the seen and unseen realms. It is the current of divine energy, the breath of creation, the sacred elixir that cleanses, renews, and restores all things to their original purity. The Essenes understood this river well, for they walked in harmony with the sacred order of the cosmos. They knew that to be truly radiant, one must first be pure, not in the limited sense of morality, but in the holistic sense of divine alignment. Purification was the foundation of their way of life, the gateway to vitality, and the key to unlocking ageless beauty. They saw the human body as a temple, a vessel designed to house the eternal spirit. And just as a temple must be kept immaculate to be worthy of the divine, so too must the body, mind, and soul be cleansed to become a dwelling place for the light of eternity. For the Essenes, purification was not a mere ritual, it was a sacred art, a divine alchemy that transformed the dense into the luminous, the cluttered into the clear, the mortal into the eternal. They understood what modern seekers of beauty are only beginning to remember. True radiance is not something that can be applied from the outside, it is something that must be unveiled from within. Dishonouring the earthly mother, the root of decay. The Essenes understood a great truth. What is natural is divine, and what is divine is life-giving. They saw the earthly mother, the spirit of nature itself, as the great nourisher of mankind. She provided all things necessary for life, the pure waters of the rivers, the golden fruits of the trees, the healing herbs of the fields, and the sun's warm embrace to energize the body. Yet they warned that those who dishonour the earthly mother would suffer. If a child dishonours his earthly mother, he becomes weak and sick. Likewise, when humans dishonour nature, eating unnatural foods, polluting the waters, and severing their connection to the rhythms of life, they invite disease, aging, and suffering upon themselves. For when we turn away from nature, we turn away from the very source of our own renewal. When we consume foods that have been stripped of their life force, we strip ourselves of life. When we reject the cycles of rest, sun, and movement, we reject the essence of our vitality. The wisdom of the Essenes was clear. Honour nature, and she will keep you radiant, strong, and youthful. Abandon her, and the body will decay, the spirit will grow dim, and life will lose its brilliance. Thus, purification was not merely about removing toxins. It was about returning to divine alignment, about living in such a way that the earthly mother would nourish and sustain us as she was always meant to. To purify the body is to honour the sacred bond between ourselves and the life-giving forces of nature. To purify the mind is to release the disharmony that clouds our spirit. To purify the soul is to return to the stream of divine light that leads to everlasting youth and radiance. The Essene approach to cleansing the body, mind, and soul. To the Essenes, purification was not an event, but a way of being. It was the natural state of those who lived in harmony with the divine currents of life. Their path to purification was threefold: cleansing the body, purifying the mind, and sanctifying the soul, for they knew that impurity in one would soon corrupt the others. They believed that disease and aging were not inevitable, but the result of accumulated impurities, physical waste, toxic thoughts, and stagnant energies that cloud the body's natural brilliance. And so they practiced the sacred art of cleansing, allowing the waters of life to wash over them, renewing them, regenerating them, returning them to their original wholeness. To the world, they appeared almost otherworldly, glowing with vitality, radiating an ethereal beauty, their eyes bright with the fire of divine life. But their secret was simple. They remained as pure as the rivers and the heavens from which they drew their strength. Fasting as a path to purification and renewal. Do not defile your body with food that is impure. Instead, let the waters cleanse you, let the angels of the earthly mother heal you, and let the light of the sun renew you. These were the words of the Essenes, who saw fasting not as deprivation, but as divine restoration. They knew what sages and healers have long understood. The body has the power to heal itself when given the space to do so. In stillness, in emptiness, in the absence of excess, the body remembers its innate wisdom. Through fasting, the Essenes purified their bodies, allowing them to become clear vessels for divine energy. They believed that when one abstained from food, the angels of the earthly mother, the forces of air, water, and sun would enter the body and restore it. The digestive fire, no longer burdened, would burn away impurities and the body would be reborn. In their wisdom, they saw fasting as an act of liberation, a shedding of that which was heavy, an opening of the inner channels, a return to the natural rhythm of life. And so they would fast with the cycles of the moon, with the changing of the seasons, with the deep knowing that purity was not a punishment, but a gift. They understood what few remember today. Fasting is not starvation, it is illumination. Colon cleansing and the Essene belief in detoxifying the temple. The body, they taught, is a temple, but what use is a temple if it is filled with darkness? The Essenes saw the colon as the foundation of health, the seat of vitality, the place where the earthly mother's nourishment was transformed into life. They believed that waste and toxins, when left to stagnate, would breed disease, cloud the mind, and diminish the soul's radiance. And so they practiced colon cleansing, using the pure waters of the earthly mother to wash away the residues of the past. They understood that when the body is clogged, so too is the spirit, and they revered internal purification as the highest form of self-respect, raw, living foods as the key to health and vibrancy. They ate only from the living table of the earthly mother, knowing that foods untouched by fire were imbued with life force. Fruits ripened in the sun, vegetables still pulsing with energy, seeds brimming with the potential of new life. These were the foods of the Essenes. They understood that what we consume, we become, and that life begets life. To them, cooked and processed foods were empty, lacking the divine intelligence of living nourishment. And so they sustained themselves on that which was pure, untouched, alive. And in doing so, they preserved their own life force, their own youth, their own connection to the eternal stream of vitality. In modern terms, they followed what we now call a raw, plant-based diet, not out of trend, but out of sacred knowing, water purification and the holy streams of life. The Essenes spoke often of the holy streams, the sacred waters that flow between the heavens and the earth, cleansing all who bathe in them. They saw water as the bridge between realms, a conduit for divine energy, and a purifier of body, mind, and soul. They would immerse themselves in running rivers, allowing the waters of life to wash away all impurities. They would drink only from the purest springs, knowing that water is not just hydration, it is sacred alchemy. To drink impure water, they believed, was to drink stagnation, illness, and decay, but to drink from the holy streams was to consume life itself. They understood, as mystics do, that water carries memory, that it holds the songs of the universe, that it has the power to cleanse not only the body, but the very soul. The path of purification is the path of light. The Essenes knew a secret, one that the modern world has nearly forgotten. The purer you are, the more light you can hold. To purify oneself is to prepare the vessel, to clear the way for the divine to enter, to remove the veils that dim the eternal radiance within. The path of purification is not about restriction. It is about returning to the body's original perfection, to the spirit's natural glow, to the divine blueprint of everlasting youth and beauty. And those who walk it shine. For purity is the light of the soul made visible, and the light of the soul is eternal. Chapter 3. The Ageless Diet of the Essenes. There exists a nourishment beyond mere sustenance, a way of eating that does not simply feed the body but illuminates the spirit. The Essenes understood that food was not just material substance but a conduit for divine energy, a vessel of life force that could either elevate or diminish one's vitality. They saw food as more than matter. It was light, encoded with the essence of creation, a sacred gift from the earthly mother designed to sustain and renew. The Essenes lived in harmony with the cycles of nature, their diet reflecting their commitment to purity, longevity, and spiritual clarity. They consumed only that which was given freely by the earth, fruits ripened by the sun, vegetables still pulsing with their original vitality, grains sprouted into new life, nuts and seeds brimming with the potential of creation itself. To them, food was alive, imbued with the same cosmic intelligence that moves the stars and stirs the breath of life into all things. To eat was to partake in a sacred communion. And so, they chose their nourishment wisely, understanding that whatever entered the body became part of the temple, influencing not only physical health, but the vibrational resonance of the soul. The purity of their diet was reflected in their luminous vitality, their clarity of mind, and their effortless radiance. In honoring the body through food, they honored the divine, the importance of eating foods full of life force energy. The Essenes believed that all living things carried an energy, a sacred imprint of the divine. They understood that the body, like a delicate instrument, was attuned to frequencies that either harmonized with the symphony of life or disrupted its natural rhythm. Consuming foods in their purest state, raw, unaltered, fresh from the earth, allowed them to remain aligned with the eternal flow of vitality. Raw foods, untouched by fire, were seen as carriers of the sun's light, preserving the vibrational integrity of nature. They did not merely fill the stomach, they infused the body with the essence of life itself. The colours of fresh fruits, the scent of herbs, the crispness of vegetables all bore the mark of creation, encoded with nutrients, enzymes, and the sacred intelligence of the earthly mother. They understood that when food is plucked fresh, eaten in its whole, unprocessed form, it bestows upon the eater a mirror of its purity. But when food is altered, cooked, processed, manipulated, it is stripped of its divine essence, reduced to something lifeless, a shadow of its original potential. The Essenes lived by a truth that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. The higher the life force in the food, the higher the life force in the body. Why the Essenes avoided cooked, processed, and animal foods. To the Essenes, food was sacred, and anything that disrupted its purity was seen as an obstacle to health and enlightenment. They abstained from consuming flesh, for they saw it as the food of death, burdened with suffering and decay. They believed that to eat the flesh of an animal was to inherit its energy, its pain, its fear, its mortality. And those who partook in the cycle of death would themselves be subject to its grip. Cooked and processed foods were also avoided, for they had been stripped of their living essence. The fire that destroyed their nutrients also burned away their sacred vitality, leaving behind only a shell of what once was. The Essenes knew that the body, when nourished with dead food, would itself begin to mirror that lifelessness, growing dull, tired, and aged before its time. Instead, they chose foods that were teeming with life. They gathered from the trees and fields, sprouted their grains in the warmth of the sun, and ate only what had been freely given by nature. Their way of eating was a form of devotion, a practice of honouring life in its purest form, and in doing so, they remained untouched by the ailments of the world, glowing with the unmistakable light of divine health. The Essene living bread and modern high-vibrational nutrition. Among their sacred practices, the Essenes created what they called the living bread. Unlike the baked loaves of modern times, which had been subjected to destructive heat, their bread was made by sprouting grains and allowing them to naturally ferment under the warmth of the sun. This bread, still alive with its original enzymes and nutrients, was a symbol of their philosophy, that food should nourish not just the body but the spirit. This practice reflects what is now understood as high vibrational nutrition, a way of eating that prioritizes raw, unprocessed, enzyme-rich foods that support both longevity and inner radiance. The modern resurgence of raw food diets, cold-pressed juices and sprouted grains, echoes the ancient wisdom of the Essenes, proving that truth is timeless and what once sustained the enlightened will forever be the key to vitality. The law of non-violence, ahimsa, and the energetics of food. To the Essenes, food was more than sustenance. It was an extension of divine energy. They followed the sacred law of ahimsa, or non-violence, understanding that consuming the flesh of animals was not only an act of harm, but also an act of spiritual degradation. They believed that all living beings carried the breath of life, and to take that life for food was to absorb the energy of suffering, fear, and death into the body and spirit. Thou shalt not kill was not a commandment meant only for interactions between humans. It was a universal law extending to all creatures. The Essenes saw the human body as a temple, meant to be filled with the light of life rather than the remnants of death. And they observed that those who consumed plants, food still pulsing with the vibrancy of the earthly mother, maintained youthfulness, vitality, and clarity of mind. In contrast, those who ate flesh were weighed down by the heaviness of decay, aging prematurely as their bodies became burdened by toxins, stagnation, and disease. This wisdom aligns with what modern science has now revealed. Animal products contribute to inflammation, toxicity, and the acceleration of aging. Meanwhile, fresh, raw plant-based foods are filled with enzymes, antioxidants, and the living essence of the sun, nourishing the body with radiant life force. To honor the law of non-violence is to choose life over death, purity over corruption, and divine light over darkness. The Essenes knew this truth well. What we consume, we become. By choosing foods untouched by suffering, we cultivate a body that is light, pure, and filled with the radiance of the divine, living in harmony with natural cycles. The Essenes understood that everything in creation moves in cycles, the rising and setting of the sun, the ebb and flow of the tides, the changing of the seasons. They believed that to remain youthful and vibrant, one must live in alignment with these sacred rhythms. They followed a diet that mirrored the natural order, eating seasonal, local foods provided by the earthly mother at the right time. They understood that in the heat of summer, hydrating fruits like melons and figs were abundant to cool the body, while in the cooler months, grounding foods like nuts, grains, and root vegetables offered warmth and sustenance. Each food carried the wisdom of its season, providing exactly what the body needed to maintain balance and health. Beyond eating seasonally, the Essenes also practiced cyclical fasting. They observed a day of fasting every 7th day, allowing the body to reset, heal, and cleanse itself. This practice mirrored the cycles of rest and renewal found in nature, the way the earth lies fallow before bearing fruit, the way night replenishes the energy spent during the day. They also fasted in accordance with moon cycles and seasonal transitions, believing that by periodically abstaining from food, they could purify the body and attune themselves to divine energy. In contrast, modern lifestyles have strayed from these ancient rhythms. People now eat out of sync with nature, consuming the same processed foods year-round, regardless of what the earth provides. Overconsumption, artificial schedules, and overstimulation disrupt the body's innate intelligence, leading to burnout, premature aging, and disease. But the Essenes taught that the body flourishes when we return to the cycles of nature. When we eat seasonal fresh foods in their natural time, fast regularly to allow the body to cleanse and rejuvenate, sync our sleep and activity patterns with the sun and moon, honor the natural rhythms of work, rest, and renewal. By aligning with these eternal cycles, we reclaim the ageless wisdom of the ancients, restoring the balance, vitality, and radiance that is our birthright. The Essene diet as the foundation of ageless beauty. The path to ageless beauty is not found in external remedies or fleeting cosmetic rituals, but in the purity of what we consume. The Essenes knew that when the body is fed with life, it radiates life. When it is nourished with the sun's energy, it glows with an inner light that no earthly treatment can replicate. Their secret was not hidden. It was written in the leaves of the trees, in the ripened fruits, in the untouched streams that flowed through the valleys of the earth. They followed the laws of nature, and in doing so they discovered the fountain of youth, a body free of toxins, a mind free of confusion, and a spirit free to soar. To eat as the Essenes ate is to remember the sacred contract between humanity and the earthly mother. It is to partake in the food of life, to nourish not just the body but the eternal self. It is to return to the natural way of being, where beauty is not something sought after, but something that simply is, a reflection of the divine purity within. And so, the wisdom of the Essenes lives on. In every fresh fruit, in every sprouted seed, in every choice to eat that which is living and pure, the path to ageless vitality is made clear. Those who walk it will find that the body, when nourished by the light of nature, becomes a vessel of radiance, untouched by time, forever young in the embrace of the eternal. Chapter 4. Light, Air, and Water. The Holy Trinity of Beauty. Throughout the ancient teachings of the Essenes, a sacred trinity was revered, a triad of life-giving forces that sustained not only the body but also the soul. These were the elements that carried the breath of God through all of creation: light, air, and water. To the modern mind, these may seem like mere aspects of nature, passive elements of existence, but to those who walked the path of divine wisdom, they were living, conscious forces, holy messengers of vitality, purification, and eternal beauty. The Essenes understood that the foundation of ageless beauty was not found in potions or earthly adornments, but in aligning with the forces that govern all life. They called these forces the angels of light, air, and water, for they carried the essence of the Heavenly Father and the earthly Mother, sustaining all who dwelt upon the earth. When one lived in harmony with these angels, the body became a vessel of divine radiance, untouched by the decay of time. The angel of sun, how sunlight is a source of eternal youth and healing. To the Essenes, the sun was more than a celestial body. It was the golden chariot of divine fire, the radiant eye of the Heavenly Father, pouring life and vitality upon all who received it with reverence. They understood what modern science is only beginning to rediscover: that sunlight is not merely light, but nourishment, a sacred source of energy that penetrates the cells, awakens the spirit, and kindles the eternal flame of youth within. The sun was seen as a healer, for it purifies the blood, strengthens the bones, and fills the body with the very life force that animates creation. The Essenes would rise with the dawn, facing the first golden rays with open hands and hearts, receiving the sun's blessings as one would receive a sacred gift. They would allow the warmth to kiss their skin, knowing that within its golden embrace lay the secret to longevity and vitality. They taught that just as plants draw energy from the sun, so too does the human body absorb this celestial force. Sunlight activates the inner fire, awakening the body's natural healing abilities, uplifting the mind, and illuminating the soul. Those who avoided the sun, who cloaked themselves in shadows and sought refuge from its light, would find themselves pale, weary, and disconnected from the source of life. But those who lived as the Essenes did, bathing in the morning sun, walking barefoot upon the earth, allowing the rays to nourish their skin, would discover the great secret that the sun is a fountain of youth, and those who drink from its light remain vibrant, strong, and eternally radiant. The angel of air. The power of breathwork and life force energy breath is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. It is the first gift given to man at birth and the last whisper released upon death. The Essenes knew that breath was sacred, for within it moved the invisible essence of life itself. They called this force ruach, the divine breath that sustains all living things. To breathe deeply, consciously, and in harmony with the natural rhythms of the earth was to commune with the very breath of the divine. The angel of air was revered as the messenger of purity and clarity. To breathe the fresh, untainted air of the mountains, the forests, and the open fields was to take in the spirit of life itself. The Essenes practiced breathwork as a form of spiritual purification, inhaling deeply to draw in the energy of the cosmos, exhaling fully to release impurities of the body and mind. They believed that shallow, unconscious breathing led to stagnation, not just of the body, but of the spirit. When one's breath was shallow, the flow of life force was restricted, and with it came fatigue, dullness and premature aging. But when one breathed deeply and fully, drawing air into the depths of their being, they became filled with the radiance of life, their eyes bright with the fire of consciousness, their skin glowing with the vitality of the eternal. Today, many have forgotten the art of breath. The modern world moves at a frantic pace, leaving little room for stillness, for presence, for communion with the sacred rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. But those who return to this ancient wisdom, who take the time to breathe deeply, to draw life force into every cell, to synchronize their breath with the great pulse of creation, will find that youthfulness is not merely a matter of years, but of the breath that animates them. The Angel of Water, sacred water rituals for cleansing and rejuvenation. Water is the womb of creation, the sacred mirror that reflects the purity of the soul. It is the river that flows between worlds, the essence of the earthly mother, the crystal current that cleanses all it touches. The Essenes understood that water was not merely a substance to quench thirst, but a living force, a conduit of divine renewal capable of washing away impurities of both body and spirit. They immersed themselves in the purest streams, knowing that flowing water carried within it the memory of life's origin. Baptism to them was not a ritual of mere symbolism, but a tangible act of rebirth, a merging with the holy currents of the earthly mother. They would drink from sacred springs, knowing that in each drop lay the essence of purity, a vibration of healing that could restore balance to all who partook of it. The Essenes avoided stagnant waters, for they knew that stillness invites decay. Just as a flowing river remains fresh and full of life, so too must the waters within the body remain in motion, purified by the sacred practice of cleansing. They would fast with water, allowing it to wash away the residues of indulgence. They would bathe in running streams, letting the cool embrace of nature strip them of all that no longer served them. And they would give thanks with every sip, honouring water as the bridge between the physical and the divine. Today, the wisdom of water remains as vital as ever. The body is composed mostly of water, and yet modern life has severed humanity's connection to its source. People drink impure water, neglect the sacred act of hydration, and allow toxins to accumulate where clarity should reign. But those who return to the Essene way, who drink living water from pure sources, who bathe in the cleansing embrace of nature, who honour water as the sacred gift that it is, will find their bodies renewed, their spirits uplifted, and their radiance restored. The path of light, air and water, the trifecta of ageless vitality. To the Essenes, beauty was never about ornamentation, it was about illumination. It was the natural consequence of living in harmony with the forces of life. The angel of sun, the angel of air, and the angel of water were the divine messengers that carried the secret to eternal youth, not in fleeting cosmetics, but in the living energies that sustained all creation. Those who seek true, ageless beauty must return to these ancient truths. They must walk in the morning light and drink in the golden fire of the sun. They must breathe deeply, letting the breath of life purify and invigorate their being. They must drink pure water, bathe in the sacred rivers of nature, and allow the holy streams of existence to flow through them once more. For in light there is radiance, in air there is renewal, in water there is purity, and in the embrace of these sacred forces, beauty becomes eternal. Chapter 5, The Sevenfold Peace and the True Fountain of Youth. There is a secret ancient path to youthfulness, one that requires no elixirs, no potions, no artificial interventions. It is the path of peace, an internal state of harmony so profound that it transforms not only the spirit, but the very fabric of the body. The Essenes, keepers of divine wisdom, knew that true agelessness was not found in external remedies, but in the alignment of the soul with the eternal currents of life. This path, known as the Sevenfold Peace, was their sacred key to vitality, a holistic blueprint for sustaining radiance, longevity, and divine beauty. It is no mystery that those who live in harmony with life itself seem to defy time. The face of a serene elder, eyes shimmering with light, bears no resemblance to the face of one weighed down by fear, resentment, and inner conflict. The spirit etches itself upon the flesh, and thus the one who has cultivated peace within reflects it outwardly in a countenance that glows with timeless beauty. To the Essenes, peace was not merely the absence of conflict, it was an active, living force, a bridge between the physical and the divine. They understood that disease, suffering, and premature aging were the symptoms of inner discord. The more one moved out of harmony with the sacred order, the more quickly the body decayed. Conversely, the more one lived in balance, the more life flowed through them like a sacred river, washing away the burdens of time. The sevenfold peace, a pathway to ageless vitality. The sevenfold peace, as taught by the Essenes, was a way of life, a series of harmonies that, when attained, created a state of divine equilibrium within the body, mind, and soul. These 7 aspects of peace were not separate but interconnected, each one reinforcing the others. To master them was to unlock the hidden fountain of youth, the eternal wellspring of vitality. 1. Peace with the body. The body, the sacred temple of the spirit, must be honoured, cleansed, and nourished. Through pure foods, fasting, movement, and rest, the body becomes a vessel of light, free from disease and stagnation. 2. Peace with the mind. The mind must be purified of negative thought patterns, for thoughts shape reality. Fear, worry, and resentment carve deep lines into the face and heart, while love, clarity, and truth soften and illuminate. 3. Peace with the emotions. The heart must be free of bitterness, attachment, and regret. Love is the great healer, and joy is the secret to renewal. The one who laughs often and loves deeply remains forever youthful. 4. Peace with the family. Harmonious relationships are essential to longevity. To live in discord with those closest to us creates unseen stress, which slowly drains life force energy. Love, patience, and forgiveness renew both the giver and the receiver. 5. Peace with humanity. To harbour resentment, judgment, or hostility toward the world is to poison one's own soul. The one who embraces all beings with compassion radiates an energy that dissolves the very notion of aging. 6. Peace with nature. Living in harmony with the natural world aligns us with the sacred rhythms of life. The sun, air, water, and earth are not mere elements. They are divine forces that sustain and rejuvenate those who honour them. 7. Peace with the divine. The highest and most transformative peace is that which exists between the soul and its creator. When one surrenders fully to divine love, fear of death vanishes, and in its place arises the realization that life is eternal. Inner peace, the true fountain of youth aging, as it is commonly understood, is not merely a physical process. It is an energetic one. The body ages in response to stress, tension, and the accumulation of disharmony. Scientists now confirm what the Essenes knew thousands of years ago. Stress accelerates cellular damage, weakens the immune system, and depletes the life force that sustains youthfulness. The greatest cause of premature aging is not time itself, but the resistance to life's natural flow. True radiance is not the result of external treatments, but of an internal state of being. The one who cultivates serenity, who walks in stillness even amidst chaos, will find that their face remains untouched by the weight of the years. The spirit of peace imprints itself upon the flesh, smoothing the lines of worry, brightening the eyes, and restoring the light of youth to the countenance. How stress, disharmony, and toxicity age the body and spirit. When the mind is in a constant state of agitation, when emotions are turbulent, when the body is burdened with toxic foods and substances, the life force that sustains beauty is slowly drained. Stress hormones flood the bloodstream, accelerating inflammation, disrupting sleep, and dulling the vibrancy of the skin and hair. The body's natural ability to regenerate is weakened, and signs of aging emerge prematurely. In contrast, those who cultivate peace within are continually renewed. The cells of the body respond to inner harmony by regenerating rather than deteriorating. The nervous system, instead of being trapped in a state of survival, shifts into a state of renewal. The skin glows, the posture remains upright, the energy remains strong. The divine intelligence within the body begins to repair, restore, and revitalize. The role of joy, laughter, and love in reversing aging. The great secret of ageless beauty is joy. Laughter, the effortless flow of the soul's delight, has the power to erase years from the face and restore vitality to the spirit. Love, when fully expressed, fills the body with an energy so potent that it becomes a force of renewal. The Essenes understood this truth deeply. They did not live as ascetics burdened by heavy doctrines. They lived in joy, in communion with one another, in celebration of life's sacred beauty. They danced, they sang, they honoured the cycles of nature with reverence and gratitude. Their laughter echoed through the hills, and in their mirth they found the secret to eternal youth. The spiritual keys to eternal youth. This chapter marks the beginning of a deeper journey, one that moves beyond the physical and into the realm of the eternal. The Essenes knew that while pure foods, fasting, and natural elements sustained the body, it was peace, wisdom, and divine connection that sustained the soul. And it is the soul, not the body, that is the true source of beauty, vitality, and radiance. Agelessness is not a condition of the flesh, it is the quality of a spirit unburdened by time. It is a state of being, a presence that is cultivated through peace, joy, and unwavering alignment with the divine. To walk this path is to step into the eternal stream of life, where beauty is not something to be lost with the years, but something that deepens, refines, and expands with every breath. The sevenfold peace is the gateway to this mystery. It is the foundation of all that follows. And those who walk its path will come to know the great truth whispered through the ages. The fountain of youth is not hidden in some distant land. It is within, and it has been waiting for you all along. Chapter 6. The Tree of Life and Divine Regeneration. There exists a tree beyond time, its roots entwined with the foundation of the earth, its branches reaching into the vast expanse of the heavens. This is the Tree of Life, the sacred symbol of immortality, renewal, and the eternal dance between the physical and the divine. It stands as a bridge between the worlds, whispering the ancient secrets of regeneration to those who are willing to listen. The Essenes knew this truth well. They saw the Tree of Life not merely as a mythic vision, but as a living principle woven into the fabric of creation. They understood that just as a tree must remain rooted in the earth while stretching toward the sky, so too must humanity balance its existence between the earthly and the divine. In this balance lies the key to ageless beauty, for to walk in harmony with nature is to align with the forces that sustain vitality, radiance, and life eternal, the roots and branches of the human experience. A tree is only as strong as its roots. Buried deep within the earth, hidden from sight, the roots draw nourishment from the soil, anchoring the tree so that it may grow tall and withstand the winds of change. Without strong roots, the branches would wither. Without connection to the earth, the tree would not survive. So it is with the human experience. Our roots are our foundation, our connection to the earthly mother, to the wisdom of nature, to the purity of the elements that sustain us. These roots are strengthened by the food we consume, the air we breathe, the water that purifies us, and the sun that gives us life. When we honor these sacred gifts, we allow our bodies to thrive, unburdened by disease, vibrant with the energy of the cosmos. Yet we are not meant to remain only in the realm of the physical. Our branches must stretch toward the heavens, toward the light of divine wisdom, toward the higher truths that nourish the spirit. To cultivate the tree of life within is to live in a way that honors both the body and the soul, grounding in the richness of nature while ascending toward the infinite light of the Heavenly Father. The restorative power of nature. The Essenes understood that to walk barefoot upon the earth was to be healed by its energy, that to breathe deeply in the forest was to inhale the spirit of life, that to sit beneath the shade of a great tree was to absorb the wisdom it had gathered through the ages. They saw the natural world not as something separate from themselves, but as a living extension of divine intelligence, a vast and interconnected system of renewal and regeneration. Modern science now echoes what the ancients already knew. Nature restores, rejuvenates, and heals. The ions in the fresh mountain air cleanse the body, the minerals in the soil charge the cells with life, and the energy of the sun activates deep cellular repair. To immerse oneself in the natural world is to step into the current of divine regeneration, to align once more with the eternal forces that sustain youthfulness and beauty. The wisdom of plants and their life-giving properties. The plants of the earth are not mere sustenance. They are carriers of light, vessels of healing encoded with the knowledge of creation itself. Every leaf, every seed, every fruit holds within it a spark of the eternal, a pattern of life designed to nourish, to purify, to restore. The Essenes lived in accordance with this wisdom. They ate only that which was given freely by the earthly mother. Fresh fruits, tender greens, sacred grains, and herbs imbued with healing properties. They understood that consuming living foods was an act of communion and a way of integrating the vibrational intelligence of the natural world into their own bodies. They knew that plants, untainted by fire, retained the full force of life, and in consuming them, they took that life into themselves. Even today, those who return to the path of plant-based nourishment find their bodies awakening, their energy rising, their skin glowing with renewed vitality. The elixirs of youth are not hidden in laboratories. They grow wild in the fields. They ripen on the branches. They are woven into the very fabric of nature. The tree of life as the fountain of youth. The fountain of youth is not a place, not a mythical spring hidden in some distant land. It is a state of being, an alignment with the forces that govern life itself. The tree of life stands as a testament to this truth, its roots deep in the nourishment of the earth, its branches lifted in praise to the heavens. It is the perfect balance, the eternal dance, the embodiment of the ageless soul. To live in accordance with this wisdom is to reclaim the radiance that has always been within. It is to nourish the body with pure foods, to breathe the sacred air, to drink of the holy waters, to bathe in the light of the sun, to walk upon the earth as a child of the divine. The tree of life calls to all who seek regeneration. It whispers of renewal, of healing, of the eternal beauty that comes not from the fleeting, but from the everlasting. And those who answer its call, who root themselves in nature and reach for the divine, will find that they too become the tree as the tree, strong, radiant, filled with the light of eternity. For in the end, the secret to ageless beauty is not in resisting time, but in aligning with the timeless. And the tree of life stands as the eternal reminder that within every being, the fountain of youth is already flowing. Chapter 7. The Holy Streams of Life, Sound and Light. In the depths of ancient wisdom, there exists a sacred teaching, one that speaks of the divine currents that nourish and sustain all existence. The Essenes, keepers of this timeless truth, knew that to live in harmony with the cosmos, one must align with the holy streams, the unseen forces of life, sound and light that flow eternally from the source. These streams are not mere metaphors, but tangible energies that sustain the body, purify the mind and illuminate the soul. To walk in their current is to know renewal, to resist them is to invite decay. The holy streams were the lifeblood of the Essene way, the divine forces through which they maintained their vitality, beauty and spiritual radiance. They understood that these sacred energies are not external to us, but ever present within, flowing through every cell, every breath, every note of creation. In learning to receive their gifts, one unlocks the secret of ageless beauty and eternal youth. The holy stream of life, the key to physical and spiritual renewal. Life itself is a sacred current, an unbroken stream that moves through all things. To the Essenes, this stream was not simply the act of being alive, but the divine force that sustains existence. It is the breath that animates, the pulse that moves through the earth, the sacred rhythm that maintains the dance of creation. To drink from the holy stream of life is to partake in the ultimate renewal. The body, when purified, becomes a vessel through which this stream flows unhindered, carrying away impurities, restoring lost energies, and infusing the flesh with vitality. The sick become whole, the weary are restored, and the aged are renewed when they immerse themselves in this sacred current. How does one access this stream? Through purification of the body, mind, and spirit. By eating living foods, breathing deeply of pure air, immersing in the cleansing waters of nature, and aligning with the rhythms of the earthly mother, the holy stream of life moves freely through us. The obstruction of this stream, through toxicity, stagnation, and disharmony, results in disease and aging. But those who return to purity will feel the current move through them once more, revitalizing their essence and restoring their radiance. The holy stream of sound, vibrations and frequencies in healing and beauty. The universe was sung into being. Before the first light, before the shaping of the heavens, there was sound, a sacred vibration that formed the foundation of existence. The Essenes understood this mystery and lived in harmony with the divine music of creation. They knew that all things possess frequency, that every thought, every word, every living being hums with a song that either uplifts or diminishes life. To be in alignment with the holy stream of sound is to tune oneself to the symphony of the cosmos. Human body, like an instrument, must be in resonance with the purest frequencies to maintain health, youth, and beauty. The Essenes chanted sacred prayers, sang in harmony with the elements, and surrounded themselves with the melodies of nature, the whisper of the wind, the laughter of flowing water, the songs of birds, all of which carried the healing vibration of the divine. Modern science now echoes what the ancients knew. Sound has the power to heal, to transform, to awaken. Certain frequencies restore damaged cells, dissolve stagnant energy, and elevate consciousness. The voice itself, when used with intention, is a tool of profound renewal. To speak words of love, to chant sacred names, to sing with an open heart, these acts draw one closer to the holy stream of sound and bathe the body in its luminous waves. The holy stream of light, the divine body of radiance. From the celestial realms to the depths of the soul, light is the essence of all that is divine. It is the firstborn of creation, the force through which life takes shape, the luminous thread that connects the seen and unseen worlds. The Essenes lived by this truth, embracing the holy stream of light as the source of their vitality, wisdom, and beauty. To be in communion with the holy stream of light is to nourish the divine body, the radiant eternal form that exists beyond flesh and time. This light is absorbed through the sun's golden rays, through the purity of thought, through the illumination of truth. It is the fire of life, the energy that fuels all transformation, the divine presence that fills the purified temple of the body. Those who bask in the sun's light with reverence, who fill their minds with luminous thoughts, who meditate upon the eternal flame within, will see their bodies take on a radiance that defies time. The skin glows with the brilliance of purity, the eyes shine with the spark of spirit, the heart pulses with the golden current of divine energy. When one walks in the light, age no longer holds dominion. The soul, eternally young, infuses the body with its undying brilliance, and beauty ceases to be something fleeting. It becomes the natural state of being. Aligning with the holy streams, the path to eternal youth. To live in harmony with the holy streams of life, sound, and light is to dwell in the eternal flow of youth and vitality. These are not distant, unattainable forces. They are within, waiting to be embraced, waiting to be remembered. The holy stream of life purifies, cleanses, and sustains. The holy stream of sound heals, elevates, and aligns. The holy stream of light illuminates, regenerates, and awakens. Those who open themselves to these sacred forces will feel them move through their bodies, clearing away all that dims their radiance. They will drink from the waters of life and never thirst. They will sing the songs of creation and never fall silent. They will walk in the light and never know darkness. This is the path of the Essenes. This is the path of ageless beauty. To live by the streams is to never grow old. To align with them is to awaken the eternal light within, and those who do will shine forever, luminous as the stars, radiant as the dawn, and timeless as the soul itself. Chapter 8. The Essene concept of purity and how it transforms beauty. Beauty, in its truest form, is not a product of mere aesthetics. It is not something applied, constructed, or borrowed from the material world. It is a force, a luminous radiance that emanates from the depths of one's being, an outward reflection of an inner state of purity. The Essenes, those ancient guardians of divine wisdom, understood this truth profoundly. To them, beauty was a natural consequence of purity, and purity was the key to eternal radiance. In the modern world, beauty is often sought externally through cosmetics, procedures, and fleeting enhancements. But the Essenes knew that true beauty is cultivated from within. It is the glow of a soul unburdened by toxicity, the brilliance of a mind untainted by negativity, the grace of a body that has been honored as a sacred vessel. To be pure is to be in harmony with the divine, and in that harmony, one becomes a beacon of light, radiating a beauty that is timeless and ageless. Purity, the ultimate source of beauty. The Essenes saw purity as the highest virtue, the very foundation upon which all other virtues rested. They understood that the body is a temple, and that only in a purified temple can the spirit dwell in its full brilliance. Purity was not just about what one consumed or how one lived, but about the energetic frequency one carried. Every thought, every word, every action was an expression of one's inner state. The Essenes knew that impurity in any form, whether it be in food, thought, or emotion, clouded the light within, dimming the divine radiance that is every soul's birthright. To be truly beautiful, one must first be pure. The connection between thoughts, emotions, and appearance. Modern science has begun to uncover what the Essenes always knew, that our thoughts and emotions shape not only our internal state but also our physical form. Negative emotions such as anger, jealousy, and resentment create tension in the body, hardening features, dulling the eyes, and draining vitality. On the other hand, love, joy, and peace soften the face, brighten the complexion, and fill the eyes with light. The Essenes lived by the law that the inner world and the outer world are reflections of each other. A person who harbored negative thoughts and emotions would soon see them manifest in their body through illness, premature aging, or a lackluster presence. But one who purified the heart, who cultivated thoughts of love, gratitude, and compassion, would radiate an ethereal beauty untouched by time. To the Essenes, aging was not a fixed sentence, but a reflection of one's alignment with divine law. A person who lived in harmony with purity would retain their youthfulness far beyond what the world deemed possible. Their skin would glow with vitality, their eyes would shine with light, and their very presence would be magnetic, drawing others toward their sacred energy. Purifying the mind, emotions, and energy field. The purification of the body was only one aspect of the Essene way. They understood that for beauty to be sustained, the mind and emotions must also be cleansed. Just as one would fast to remove toxins from the body, one must also fast from impure thoughts, harmful emotions, and disruptive energies. Meditation was a cornerstone of Essene life. They spent time in stillness, allowing the mind to settle, releasing attachments to lower vibrations, and attuning themselves to the divine frequency. They believed that thoughts carried energy, and to dwell on impure thoughts was to invite decay into the temple of the body. Forgiveness was another key to maintaining purity. The Essenes knew that holding on to resentment or past hurts weighed down the spirit, creating blockages in the flow of divine energy. True beauty could only flourish in a heart that was free, free from bitterness, free from fear, free from the heaviness of the past. They also practiced conscious breathing, understanding that breath was a sacred bridge between the physical and the divine. With each inhale, they would draw in the pure energy of the universe. With each exhale, they would release anything that did not serve them. In addition to breath work, they engaged in fasting as a means of deep purification, allowing the body to reset, the spirit to lighten, and the mind to sharpen. Through these practices, they remained in a constant state of renewal, allowing their light to shine unobstructed, curating the environment to protect energy and maintain purity. The Essenes did not live in chaos. They understood that the environment one surrounds oneself with is a direct influence on one's energy. Just as stagnant, polluted air can suffocate the body, a cluttered negative space can cloud the spirit. They lived in harmony with nature, choosing to dwell in places of purity, near running waters, in the embrace of the forests, under the golden warmth of the sun. They kept their homes simple, free of unnecessary distractions, filling their spaces with objects of beauty and meaning. Every item, every sound, every scent was chosen with intention, designed to uplift the spirit and maintain the sanctity of their dwelling. Even in their interactions, they were mindful. They surrounded themselves with those who upheld purity, who spoke words of kindness, who lived by the same divine principles. They knew that just as a single drop of poison could taint an entire well, negative influences could corrupt even the most radiant soul. In today's world, where negativity is rampant, this wisdom is more vital than ever. To protect one's energy is to protect one's beauty. This means being discerning about the people we allow into our lives, the media we consume, the conversations we engage in. It means creating a sanctuary, a space where our souls can breathe, where our spirits can expand, where our light can shine without obstruction. Purity as the gateway to divine beauty. To the Essenes, purity was not a restriction, it was liberation. It was not about denial, it was about alignment. They understood that to be pure was to be in harmony with the divine, and to be in harmony with the divine was to be radiant, youthful, and eternal. Beauty is not found in artificial enhancements or fleeting adornments. It is found in the purity of one's heart, in the clarity of one's mind, in the luminous energy that flows through a soul untainted by the world's corruption. It is found in the one who walks lightly upon the earth, whose presence uplifts, whose eyes carry the light of the heavens. The path of purity is the path of radiance, and those who walk it do not age, do not fade, do not wither, they glow, they shine, they embody the eternal beauty of the divine. This is the secret of the Essenes, and it remains, now as ever, the truest key to ageless beauty. Chapter 9. The Spiritual Laws of Radiance and Longevity. What if beauty was not merely a genetic inheritance, but the natural result of spiritual harmony? What if longevity was not a battle against time, but an alignment with eternity itself? The Essenes understood a truth that the modern world has forgotten. Radiance is not achieved, it is unveiled. Longevity is not fought for, it is allowed. Beauty is not skin deep, but soul deep. They saw the body not as a separate entity, but as an extension of the spirit, a sacred garment woven from divine energy. They knew that physical aging, illness, and decay were not inevitable punishments of time, but reflections of disharmony within. Just as a clear, flowing river remains pure, while a stagnant pool breeds disease, the body remains youthful when it flows in harmony with the spiritual laws of life. To the Essenes, true radiance was a manifestation of divine presence. It was not something that could be applied, sculpted, or artificially prolonged. It was the natural state of one who lived in accordance with the higher rhythms of existence, whose thoughts were luminous, whose heart was pure, whose soul was surrendered to the eternal light. The mystical key to longevity and eternal life. Throughout history, seekers of truth have pursued the secrets of immortality. The legends of the Fountain of Youth, the Elixir of Life, and the Philosopher's Stone all stem from the same primal yearning, the desire to transcend time and reclaim the ageless, incorruptible essence of the divine self. The Essenes, however, did not see longevity as a mystery to be solved, but as a natural state to be remembered. They taught that the human form, when properly purified and attuned, could hold the breath of eternity within it. This was not mere metaphor, but a lived reality, an understanding that, through alignment with divine law, the physical body could be sustained far beyond what the world deemed possible. In their secluded communities, the Essenes lived in a way that seemed otherworldly to outsiders. They ate only from the living table of the earthly mother, bathed in the sacred waters, breathed deeply of untainted air, and absorbed the golden fire of the sun. But more than this, they cultivated an inner purity, a mind unburdened by fear, a heart untouched by bitterness, a spirit surrendered to the infinite. This, they believed, was the true fountain of youth, not a magical spring, but a state of being. The body, when treated as a holy temple, could hold the light of eternity. The divine law of frequency, how spiritual alignment manifests as beauty. All things vibrate, every living being, every thought, every word, every action carries a frequency, either elevating us toward light or pulling us into density. The Essenes understood that beauty is a frequency. It is the resonance of light within the human form. It is the radiance that arises when one aligns with truth, purity, and divine love. The higher the frequency, the more youthful, vibrant, and magnetic one becomes. The lower the frequency, the more the body falls into heaviness, stagnation, and decay. To the unawakened, aging is seen as an inevitable decline, a gradual surrender to the forces of entropy. But to those who understand the spiritual laws of radiance, it is clear that aging is not a process of time, it is a process of vibration. When one dwells in the lower energies of fear, resentment, attachment, and illusion, the body begins to reflect the weight of these burdens. The light dims, the skin loses its glow, the spirit appears weary. But when one lives in a state of purity, love, and divine surrender, the light within grows stronger and time itself loses its grip. The Essenes believed that to remain youthful was to remain in harmony with the divine flow of life. They saw radiance as the natural expression of a soul free from contamination, free from toxic food, toxic emotions, toxic relationships, toxic thoughts. This is why the great spiritual masters, sages and saints throughout history have been described as glowing. Their presence was luminous, untouched by time because they had transcended the density of the world. Their beauty was not of the flesh but of the spirit, and yet it transfigured the flesh itself. The power of faith, devotion and surrender. Modern culture teaches that youth and beauty must be preserved through effort, that we must fight against aging, resist time, manipulate appearances. But the Essenes knew that the greatest secret to ageless radiance was not resistance, but surrender. To them, faith was not a belief, it was a frequency of light. Devotion was not blind adherence, it was a state of inner radiance. Communions with the angels of the Heavenly Father, divine connection, and the radiance of the soul. The Essenes lived in communion not only with the earthly mother, who nourished the body with the gifts of nature, but also with the Heavenly Father, who nourished the soul with divine wisdom, love, and light. They understood that true vitality is not merely a product of physical health, but a reflection of one's alignment with higher energies. Those who walked in harmony with the angels of the Heavenly Father carried an unmistakable radiance, an ethereal glow that transcended the physical and illuminated their very presence. Each day, the Essenes devoted themselves to sacred communion with divine forces, attuning their spirits to the celestial energies that governed the universe. They recognized that just as the body required pure food, water, and air to thrive, the soul required nourishment from the unseen realms, infusions of power, wisdom, peace, and love. This divine connection was the secret to their boundless energy, their unshakable peace, and their luminous vitality. The angel of power filled them with divine energy, strengthening their will, resilience, and presence. To walk in the presence of this angel was to move through life with unshakable confidence and vitality, qualities that naturally enhance one's beauty from within. The angel of love taught them that love is the greatest healer, the force that softens the heart, brightens the eyes, and makes one irresistible not by external adornment, but by the warmth and kindness they radiate. The angel of wisdom illuminated their minds, allowing them to see beyond illusion and embrace truth. A person guided by wisdom carries an air of serenity and intelligence that elevates their beauty to something divine. The angel of eternal life reminded them that the soul is ageless and that one's radiance need not dim with time. Those who embraced the eternal nature of their being transcended the fears of aging, radiating a timeless presence untouched by the world's limitations. The angel of work infused their lives with purpose and passion, ensuring that their energy was not squandered but channeled toward meaningful creation. A life filled with inspired action keeps the spirit young, the mind sharp, and the body vibrant. The angel of peace bestowed a deep tranquility upon them, washing away worry, fear, and stress, elements that accelerate aging. A peaceful heart reflects outwardly as a face free of tension, a body that moves gracefully, and a presence that soothes those around them. The Heavenly Father was the ultimate source of their divine communion, the radiant force that called them home to the light. To be in union with this sacred energy was to be in a state of perpetual renewal, drinking from the eternal fountain of beauty, wisdom, and life itself. To walk in communion with these divine forces is to transcend the ordinary, to align with the highest frequencies of existence, and to become a vessel of luminous energy. The Essenes understood that physical beauty fades when disconnected from divine light, but those who cultivate their inner radiance through sacred communion never truly age. They remain youthful, vibrant, and glowing with a beauty that is not bound by time. This is the essence of true ageless beauty, the light of the divine made manifest through those who choose to walk the sacred path. Chapter 10. The Lost Art of Living in Harmony with Cosmic Order. There is an order that underlies all of existence, a divine law that governs the unfolding of life, the turning of the stars, and the breath of every living thing. It is the great cosmic rhythm, the unseen intelligence that shapes the universe and holds creation in perfect balance. To live in alignment with this order is to live in harmony with the source itself. To stray from it is to invite suffering, imbalance, and decay. The Essenes, those ancient keepers of wisdom, understood this truth. They lived not as separate beings in opposition to nature, but as vessels through which divine law could flow freely. Their lives were an offering to this sacred order, a daily attunement to the eternal symphony of existence. The divine law governing health, beauty, and youth. The law of the cosmos is one of harmony. Just as the celestial bodies move in precise orchestration, just as the tides rise and fall in perfect accord with the moon, so too does the human body function optimally when it remains in alignment with divine law. The Essenes understood that beauty, health, and youth were not accidents, nor were they fleeting gifts granted by chance. Rather, they were natural consequences of living in resonance with higher principles. To them, sickness and aging were not inevitable fates, but signs of disharmony, an indication that one had deviated from the sacred current of life. When the body is treated as a temple, purified through fasting, nourished by living foods, and sustained by the sacred elements of air, water, and sunlight, it remains a radiant vessel capable of housing divine light. When the mind is filled with clarity and peace, untouched by the poisons of resentment, fear, and negativity, it radiates wisdom and grace. And when the soul is surrendered to the divine, aligned with the eternal flow of love and faith, it shines with an inner radiance that no earthly force can dim. The modern world, with its endless distractions, artificial rhythms, and chaotic energies, has severed this sacred connection. Humanity has forgotten that there is a natural way to live, a path that leads not to exhaustion and decline, but to renewal and radiance. The Essenes serve as a reminder that to return to this way of life is to return to beauty, health, and eternal vitality, aligning with the rhythms of the universe. The universe moves in cycles, and those who walk the path of wisdom understand that these cycles are not arbitrary. They are the very heartbeat of creation. The Essenes observed the phases of the moon, the turning of the seasons, the rising and setting of the sun, and they shaped their lives accordingly. They rose with the dawn, aligning themselves with the sacred light of the sun. They rested with the night, allowing their bodies to heal and regenerate in the silence of darkness. They fasted in accordance with the natural rhythms of the body, recognizing that there were times for nourishment and times for cleansing. They understood that by surrendering to these rhythms, rather than resisting them, they could unlock the secret to boundless energy, luminous skin, and a spirit untouched by time. In today's world, where artificial light disrupts sleep cycles, processed food clouds the body's innate wisdom, and modern living disconnects us from the earth, the path back to harmony may seem distant. But it is not lost. It simply requires a return to simplicity, to presence, to the recognition that we are not separate from the divine order, but a part of it. When we move with the flow of nature rather than against it, we find that life begins to unfold with effortless grace. Healing becomes natural, energy becomes abundant, and beauty becomes inevitable. Living in attunement with God and the angels for vitality. The Essenes spoke of angels, not as ethereal beings confined to distant realms, but as living forces that exist all around us. They believed in the angel of air who cleanses and revitalizes the body with every breath. They honored the angel of water who purifies and nourishes, bringing life to all things. They worshiped the angel of sun who fills the spirit with warmth, strength, and renewal. To them, these forces were not separate from the divine. They were manifestations of it, sacred expressions of God's presence in the natural world. By living in communion with these angels, by breathing deeply, by immersing themselves in pure waters, by basking in the sun's radiance, the Essenes maintained a vitality that defied age. They did not fear death, nor did they succumb to the slow deterioration that so many accept as inevitable. Instead, they embraced life in its fullest expression, seeing the divine in all things, allowing it to flow through them, keeping them ever youthful, ever radiant, ever alive. This attunement with God and the angels is not something exclusive to ancient mystics. It is available to all who seek it, to all who choose to live in alignment with divine will. The more one surrenders to this flow, releasing resistance, embracing purity, honoring the sacredness of life, the more one becomes a conduit for the energy of eternity itself. The final key to unlocking eternal radiance. The Essenes left behind no great monuments, no grand temples, no structures of stone to mark their existence. Instead, they left behind something far greater, wisdom. A wisdom that whispers across time, calling those who are ready to remember, ready to return, ready to reclaim the beauty, vitality, and radiance that has always been their birthright. The secret to eternal radiance is not a mystery. It is simply a choice. A choice to live in alignment, to purify, to honor the body as a temple and the soul as a reflection of divine perfection. It is the choice to surrender to the cosmic order, to walk in harmony with the forces of life, and to become, once again, a vessel for the eternal light. For those who choose this path, age ceases to be a limitation. Beauty is no longer a fleeting thing. Health is not something to chase, but something that flows naturally, as effortlessly as the river moves toward the sea. And life, true, radiant, luminous life, becomes an endless dance with the divine. This is the way of the Essenes. This is the lost art of living in harmony with cosmic order, and for those who find it once more, the light of eternity awaits. Conclusion: the path to timeless beauty. There is a light that never fades, a beauty that does not wither, a radiance that exists beyond the confines of time. It is the glow of a soul in harmony, the luminous presence of one who has remembered their divine nature. This is the essence of ageless beauty, not a fleeting illusion, not a desperate battle against time, but an eternal truth waiting to be reclaimed. The Essenes, those ancient keepers of wisdom, understood this path well. They lived not in resistance to nature, but in alignment with its sacred rhythms. They honored the body as a temple, the mind as a sacred vessel, and the soul as a bridge between the earthly and the divine. They knew that beauty was not something to be chased, but something to be revealed, a state of purity, clarity, and devotion that naturally illuminated the being from within. Their way of life, so simple yet profound, offers us a map to eternal radiance, a path that does not seek to defy time but to transcend its limitations. They teach us that the secret to ageless beauty is not found in formulas, procedures, or fleeting external enhancements. It is found in the way we live, the way we love, the way we surrender to the divine current that moves through all things. The Essene Path to Ageless Beauty. Every chapter of this journey has revealed a sacred key, a forgotten truth that, when applied, unlocks the radiant light within. Purity as the foundation of beauty, cleansing the body, mind, and spirit so that the divine can shine through. The ageless diet, nourishing ourselves with foods that carry the life force of creation, choosing vitality over indulgence. Light, air, and water, embracing the holy trinity of beauty, absorbing the sun's golden essence, breathing deeply and immersing in the sacred streams of renewal. The sevenfold peace, cultivating harmony in all aspects of life, knowing that true beauty is the expression of inner tranquility. The tree of life, rooting ourselves in wisdom, stretching toward the heavens, balancing our earthly existence with our divine nature. The holy streams of sound and light, attuning to the higher frequencies of existence, remembering that our essence vibration and that beauty is the music of a soul in harmony. The spiritual laws of radiance and longevity, understanding that time does not determine our fate, but consciousness does. Each of these teachings, when embodied, allows us to step into the stream of timeless beauty, to move with grace and lightness, to reflect the radiance of the divine. The eternal glow of the soul. What does it mean to be beautiful? The world may try to define it, to measure it, to capture it in images that fade with time. But the truth is far more mystical. Beauty is the luminosity of presence, the brilliance of love, the grace that flows from an awakened heart. When we purify our bodies, they glow. When we quiet our minds, they shine. When we open our hearts, they radiate. And when we surrender our spirit to the divine, we become eternal. The Essenes knew that the body ages, but the soul does not. They understood that beauty is the reflection of the soul's inner light, and that as long as that light burns brightly, the being remains youthful, vibrant, and full of life. If beauty is light, then the path to agelessness is the path of illumination. It is the journey of stripping away all that is false, of releasing all that dims the divine spark within. It is the art of living so purely, so harmoniously, that time ceases to leave its mark, and only the brilliance of the soul remains. The final teaching, love and peace. In the end, the greatest wisdom of the Essenes was not merely in their understanding of purity, fasting, or the laws of nature. It was in their deep, unwavering devotion to love and peace. They knew that beneath all the teachings of cleansing, nourishment, and alignment with divine law, there was a singular ultimate truth. Love is the source of all life. Peace is the path to eternity. The body may be purified, the mind may be disciplined, and the spirit may be uplifted, but without love, there is no true healing, no lasting beauty, no eternal youth. Love is the highest vibration, the essence of divine radiance, the elixir of immortality that flows through all of creation. It is through love that we heal, and it is in peace that we live forever. The Essenes taught that those who walk in harmony with love, who forgive easily, who live gently, who see the divine in all beings, remain untouched by time. Their hearts remain light, their souls remain young, and their presence becomes a beacon of healing in a world that has forgotten what it means to be whole. Jesus himself taught that the way to eternal life is not through resistance, struggle, or fear, but through complete surrender to love the Heavenly Father and the earthly Mother, to love all living beings, to love oneself, wholly and unconditionally, to live in peace, not only with the world, but within one's own soul. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. This is the final teaching, the ultimate secret to ageless beauty and boundless vitality. Not in external pursuits, not in temporary rituals, but in the simple, profound truth that when one aligns with love, the soul never grows old. As we walk this path, may we remember that our radiance is not merely a reflection of what we do, but of how we live, how we give, and how deeply we love. May we choose peace. May we embody love. And in doing so, may we step into the eternal stream of divine life, where beauty never fades and youth never ends. A call to live with purity, wisdom, and devotion. And so, dear seeker, the path stands before you. It is not a path of rules or restrictions, but a path of remembrance, a return to what has always been within you. The wisdom of the Essenes is not confined to the past. It is alive, breathing, waiting to be rediscovered. To walk this path is to live with intention, with reverence, with the awareness that every thought, every action, every morsel of food, every breath is shaping the energy that you carry. It is to embrace simplicity over excess, purity over contamination, light over illusion. It is to choose vitality, to choose love, to choose the eternal over the ephemeral. The world may offer fleeting versions of beauty, trends that change, standards that shift, illusions that vanish, but there is another beauty, a higher beauty, a beauty untouched by time or decay. It is the glow of truth, the light of purity, the radiance of one who walks in harmony with the divine. And that beauty, it never fades. The choice is yours, the path is before you, and the light within you is waiting to shine. This is the path to timeless beauty. This is the path home. Bonus section: the historical Essenes, fact, legend, and mystical wisdom. The Essenes have long existed in a space between history and mystery, between recorded fact and esoteric wisdom. Some see them as an isolated Jewish sect devoted to ascetic purity. Others regard them as mystical initiates who carried the hidden teachings of the cosmos. The truth, like all ancient knowledge, is layered, woven from sacred scriptures, lost texts, and the whispers of time itself. Who were the Essenes? The Essenes were a Jewish sect that flourished around the 2nd century BCE to the 1st century CE. Historians such as Pliny the Elder, Philo of Alexandria, and Flavius Josephus described them as a highly disciplined, peaceful community devoted to spiritual purity, communal living, and a deep reverence for divine law. Unlike other Jewish groups of their time, the Essenes distanced themselves from mainstream society, believing that corruption and impurity had tainted the world. Many lived in secluded areas, especially near the Dead Sea, where they devoted themselves to prayer, study, fasting, and a way of life that aligned with natural and cosmic rhythms. The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Essene way of life. One of the most profound discoveries linking the Essenes to recorded history is the Dead Sea Scrolls, found in 1947 near the ruins of Qumran, a desert settlement believed to have housed an Essene community. These scrolls contain sacred texts, biblical interpretations, and community rules that reflect the Essene devotion to purity, ritual cleansing, fasting, and strict dietary laws; communal living, sharing all possessions, rejecting materialism; spiritual discipline, meditation, prayer, and sacred study; prophecy and divine wisdom, belief in an eternal battle between light and darkness. The scrolls also reveal Essene prophecies about a coming teacher of righteousness, a messianic figure whose role was to restore divine order. Some speculate that Jesus himself was influenced by or even lived among the Essenes before beginning his ministry. Did Jesus learn from the Essenes? While the Bible does not explicitly mention the Essenes, many of Jesus' teachings parallel their philosophy. His emphasis on fasting, purification, and raw living foods echoes the Essene way. His teachings on light, divine wisdom, and inner transformation mirror the Essene belief in aligning with the forces of heaven. His retreat into the wilderness, his rejection of material wealth, and his radical compassion for the poor all resonate with Essene ideals. Some early Christian scholars even suggested that John the Baptist, who lived in the desert, practiced ritual purification, and called for spiritual repentance, was deeply connected to the Essenes. How much of this book reflects historical fact? While many of the teachings in this book are drawn from historical accounts, the Essene Gospel of Peace, which inspired much of the Ageless Beauty philosophy, remains a controversial text. It was brought to light in the 20th century by Edmund Bordeaux-Szekely, a Hungarian scholar who claimed to have found ancient Essene writings in the Vatican archives. However, these texts have never been authenticated by mainstream historians, leading some to believe they are apocryphal, while others see them as mystical transmissions of lost wisdom. Whether the Essene Gospel of Peace is historically verifiable or a channeling of ancient spiritual truths, its message remains powerful. It speaks of purity, divine connection, and natural living, principles that align with the universal laws of health, longevity, and spiritual awakening. Why this wisdom matters today. Regardless of whether one sees the Essenes as historical figures or mystical archetypes, their wisdom has endured for thousands of years for a reason. The idea that purity leads to radiance, that nature holds the key to vitality, and that the body is a temple worthy of reverence is as relevant today as it was in the time of Qumran's seekers of truth. In a modern world filled with toxins, both physical and spiritual, the Essene Path reminds us that beauty, health, and eternal youth are not external pursuits, but inner revelations. To live as they lived is to walk in harmony with the forces of life, to align with the rhythm of the cosmos, and to unveil the luminous, ageless beauty that has always been within. So, how do we know this is how they really lived? While there is no single definitive source, the multiple historical accounts, ancient texts, and archaeological evidence strongly suggest that the Essenes were deeply committed to purity, fasting, plant-based eating, and spiritual discipline. Some details may be reconstructed or inferred, but their overarching philosophy aligns with the principles of divine health, natural living, and ageless beauty.